Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall Psychic all the way from the Gold Coast. Well, the New Year's in full swing, isn't it? People are still getting over their hangovers and getting used to their New Year's resolutions that they made. Some of them have already been broken and some are sort of been put on the back burner, and some of you are actively working on your New Year's resolutions. I like to look at the new year as being a time of renewal and opportunity and hope. I don't necessarily set resolutions or goals for myself anymore. I just try to be the very, very best person that I can be each and every single day of the year, whether it's New Year's Day or it's the last day of the year or anything in between. So this week, the Simply Tarot card of the week is called the Page of Wands. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the court cards before we go into the actual meaning of the card. Now, a lot of people sort of say to me, look, I don't quite understand what a court card is. So the kings and queens are people over 25. The pages are girls and the knights are boys. Now, I know you might say, well, that seems funny. We don't see too many girls run. We've got a girl here and she's dressed up looking like a boy. Well, in the times when these cards were designed, that was how people dressed. So the general rule of thumb is a page is a girl and a knight is a boy. They're up to the age of 25. Now, let me be very clear on this. When you are a parent and you have a child, they will always be your child, and they will always come out in a tarot reading as a child, as a young person, as a male or a female, and they'll always come out as the page or the knight, even if they're 55, because in your eyes, they're still your child, they're still young. So I just want to clear that up before we start. So the Page of Wands is the card, young man up to the age of 25. He might have green to hazily, a woman up to the age of 25, green to hazily coloured eyes, mid-brown hair, blonde hair. The secondary meaning of this card is travel over land. Now, for many of us at the moment, we are still doing a little bit of travel for the holiday season. Many of us are back to work this week and sort of starting the new year off and sort of, full swing of, we're back into the new year, we're back into work, we're back into the grind. But for many of us, it's just a matter of travelling in our mind, that we may have a lot of things that we want to achieve this year or achieve this week or this month, and we're starting to sort of put the travel plans down or put the plan of action down. It doesn't always mean that we've physically got to travel over land. It means that we're traveling in our mind, we're traveling in our thoughts, we're traveling in many different directions. In this day and age where we do so much over our devices and our cell services and things like that, we do a lot of what I term as armchair traveling during a day. We can be here in Australia and broadcasting a show all around the world. So that's a form of travel over land, isn't it? Because it's going to many different locations. So look at it in a much broader sense, not just in the basic of travel over land or physically picking one foot up after the other and stomping over the ground or hopping in your car and driving a distance. It can be travel over land through our devices this day and age. So this is a really positive card to come out at the beginning of the year, because it means that we're starting to focus on what we need to be focusing on for the coming months in the early part of 2024. And it's got a nice ring to it, hasn't it? 2024 seems to have a nice flavour about it. So we're going to kick off the astrology for the week. We're still in the sign of Capricorn. So happy birthday to the late Capricorns that are celebrating a birthday this week. So the sun in Capricorn means for each and every one of the 12 signs that we all need to be focused on things that are important to us, things that are official. They may be government, they may be legal, they may be something in an official sort of sense. It weighs more heavily on Capricorns, Tauruses, Virgos, and the opposite sign of Cancer. They may have a little bit more to do with connected with official situations. It's a good time to sit down and look at your budget, isn't it? How much money you spent over the holiday season and how short of money you're going to be for the next few months while you repay those giant credit card debts for all that spending that you weren't going to do. But it's also a perfect time to sit down and look at all your utility bills, your insurance policies, anything that has an official nature, and make sure everything's up to the minute, you're getting the best deal, you're happy with the service provider. If not, now's the time to start shopping around and looking for change. We also have, in Capricorn at the moment, we have the sun sitting in Capricorn. It's making a nice aspect to it's making a flowing aspect to Uranus in Taurus. Now, Uranus in Taurus is the planet of the unusual and the unexpected happenings. So what this means is the sun is making a really nice, pleasant aspect or a flowing aspect to Uranus. Now, Uranus is the planet of the unusual, the unexpected. Uranus likes to come in and tip everything upside down and say, well, you told me you didn't want that, so I removed it for you. And we usually think, oh, gee, I didn't really mean it in quite that way. I was just venting. I was just, talking out loud. So be very, very careful at what you sort of wish for, because Uranus is listening, and particularly if you're an earth sign or a Cancer, it's a time when things can get done. It's a time when you can really afford to dream big. You can afford to take a few chances, because quite often here with Uranus here, it can create something out of nothing. So it's the time to take that little bit of calculated gamble on something. If you've been applying for jobs, maybe stretch yourself out of that little bit of that comfort zone and apply for something that maybe you're not quite qualified for, but you think you've got the know-how and you're prepared to do the training to sort of live up to the situation or the job that's being offered. So take that gamble. You may just find it might just pay off. We also have Mars, the planet of action, is sitting in Capricorn at the moment. Has nothing to do with the sun, too far away. So Mars is the planet that makes us get out of bed of a morning. So we're going to start to hear, probably on a global sort of scale, more country leaders and things like that coming out with statements or making comments or talking about, wars in their own region or their own politics or their own this or their own that. There's going to be a lot of press conferences that are going to be held in the next week from government and officialdom around the world, and people sort of saying, okay, well, this is what our plans are for our nation or our country this year. So there's going to be a lot of a lot of media activity, and a lot of it to most of us is going to be quite boring, but there'll be little nuggets in there that are quite interesting, like the princess, the Queen of Denmark stepping down, and then there's going to be a new reign there. That was a positive sort of spin on Mars in Capricorn. So we just need to be a little bit focused on the things that are going on around us. We also have Mars is also making a trine to Uranus in Taurus. So Mars here is the planet of action, as I said, and Uranus is the planet that can make things happen really quickly out of nowhere, can take things away from us quickly. So we need to be here very, very aware of the fact that Mars can sometimes get us a little bit angry. Mars can sort of ramp us up and sort of get all those juices flowing, that sometimes we don't necessarily approach a situation as calmly as what we should. And particularly when it's here with Uranus, even though it's a nice flowing sort of aspect, Uranus can sort of egg us on or goad us on a little bit and say, yeah, you can do it, you can do it, you can go in there and be forthright and be bossy. Sometimes the best approach is to go in a much calmer approach and you achieve more. So just be aware, if you're sort of feeling as if your emotions are getting a little bit out of control, just sort of, count to 10, take a little bit of a step back, breathe a little bit, go and have a glass of water, do something, and then approach the situation in a more calm and rational sort of fashion. And you'll find then things will work out so much easier for you than what they would have previously. So we need to be sort of very aware of that, because Mars can be a little bit of a, not a prankster, but can sort of egg people on and sort of rev them up a little bit too much. Sometimes it's nice to come in a quieter sort of approach, but with determination and, showing people that you mean business, but you don't have to come in and rant and rave and, rattle the pots and pans. You can come in a nice demeanour and people take more notice of you in that way, I find. We have Mercury, the planet of communication, is conjunct or holding hands the moon. Now, Mercury is the planet of communication. It's a time when we want to sort of open up and talk about things. And with the moon, we know the moon's connected to emotional issues. Now, the moon moves very fast through the zodiac. It only stays in a sign for approximately 2.5 days. So when you get a conjunction like this with Mercury, it's saying to you for the next 24, 48 hours, be very, very careful of your communication. Don't go in half-cocked. Don't go in angry. If you need to have some serious conversations with somebody of an important nature, make sure you do it in a calm manner. Don't let your emotions run away with you. We're all driven by emotions. There's nobody on the planet that isn't driven by emotions one way or the other, whether they're positive or negative or even very calm emotions. We are emotional beings. Now, with it being in the planet of Sagittarius, it's saying, yes, we can find solutions here. Maybe we need to look a little bit further afield. Maybe we need to sort of stretch this right out and sort of ask the other person, well, do you have any ideas on how we can solve this situation? Or this is what's been troubling me. I want to know your thoughts, your views on things. Maybe we can sit down and have a chat about it. We can look at it. We can look at maybe trying to find a solution. And this goes to all the 12 signs. Yes, obviously it's going to affect the fire signs more, Sagittarius, Leo, and Aries, the opposite sign of Gemini. But it is basically affecting all the 12 signs, and it's saying for the next 24, 48 hours, be a little bit careful about your communication. Don't get on your high horse. Yes, it's great to be passionate, but be passionate in a controlled sort of way, and make sure that you've got your listening ears on, that you're listening to what the other person's got to say, because what they've got to say is also equally as important as what you've got to share as well. And then maybe through all of this, we can find some solutions. We can get some creative thinking happening. We can get some brilliant light bulb moments happening, and everybody's a winner then. So it's great for the creative process. It's great if you know, sort of feeling like you're being a little bit stuck lately and, you know, can't get those first few words to the lyrics to the song or the poem that you're writing, or you can't get the painting started, or even get your, you know, your creative processes happening on the computer. You know, sometimes it's hard to get creative. You know, you've got to do something and then you sit there and it's like, wow, my mind's gone blank. Sometimes just getting up, putting a piece of music on, going for a walk, doing some exercise and coming back makes it sort of much easier to come back and approach that, because communication will flow at the moment, but sometimes we need to take a step out of things or divert ourselves in another way so that when we come back to it, we've got a fresh set of eyes. So we still have Saturn sitting in the early stages of Pisces. So this is really difficult. It's been a mixed bag for Pisces. Some people are saying to me, I have a lot of Pisces clients and friends, and they're sort of saying to me, you know, it's great that I've got the discipline, I've got the focus. Things are much easier in that way for me to, you know, to remain focused and not wander off into my little Pisces dreamland and sort of, you know, daydream out the window. But in other ways, it's limiting my creativity. So it's a matter of trying to find the balance with this. Yes, you know, Saturn is coming in, and yes, he's trying to bring structure into your life, but he's certainly not trying to kill the creative juices or take away your creativity. He's trying to sort of just get you a little bit more organized, sort of saying, you know, maybe get a planner, you know, sort your, you know, put your days down in, you know, the things that you want to achieve down in blocks, and maybe try and stick to that so that it helps you structure or reorganize your life so that you get more done in the day. Don't look at it as Saturn coming in and wielding a big stick and saying you've been really naughty and you've got to be focused now and you've got to grow up and you've got to do this. It's not what it's about. It's about helping you achieve the most that you can achieve out of your life. So it's really, really interesting as the planets move around the zodiac. It's like a Polaroid photograph of up to the minute of where things are at the moment in the zodiac. And that's what I like to bring to you each and every week here on the show, the very latest Polaroid snapshot of, you know, the universe and, you know, what's happening in the universe at the moment. We're going to take our first call, which is Carolyn in Ducat in Massachusetts in the USA. Are you there, Caroline?
I am. Hello. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very, very welcome, sweetie. Do you have a question I can answer for you, Caroline?
Can I ask about somebody else, or does it have to be related to myself?
No, it doesn't have to be related to yourself at all, Caroline. You know, ask the question. All I ask is that you give me that person's first initial. You don't need to share with me their first name, but their first initial, so I make sure that I tune into them for you.
It's M.
Okay. So what's the question?
Is M, and the question is, will he find love?
Will he find love? Okay. Really, really interesting, because the first thing that they're sharing with me for your dear friend M is the fact that there's been a lot of endings, change and transformation. And I'm also going to say I think there's been a lot of heartache and pain. And I'm not just talking about in the love department. I'm talking about right across the board. So has it been a really difficult 2 or 3 years for them leading up to now?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm pleased to say that that's sort of all breaking up. It's like somebody's gone in with a jackhammer and broken up the concrete and we're throwing it in the trash. And that's wonderful, because once we can move this emotion on, and I'm not saying that Emma's held on to it. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying it's just the way it's been and they've had to work through this, that once this has moved along, then I feel that things are going to start to sort of open up. I'm starting to see a beautiful, you know, sunny day. things are happening. Yes, they're going to find love. I wish I could say it was going to be this week. I'm sort of picking up around April, May, June. It's sort of as the weather's starting to get a little bit warmer where you are, that's when things start to blossom in their world. And it's good because the next person that comes in of a serious nature for them is the right one. It's somebody, it's like an extension of M. You know, they haven't really wanted anything out of the ordinary. All they've wanted is somebody that they could trust, somebody that they could love, and somebody that loves them as much as they love them. And, you know, that's not too much to ask for. You know, it should be a given. But for some people, it's a really difficult task to find that person that will give you what you need and what you deserve. You know, this person is a very giving person. And I feel that, you know, M's always sort of found themselves where they give, and there's hardly ever anything back in return, you know, or people take advantage of M's beautiful nature. And and it's heartbreaking, isn't it? You know, to sit back and watch such a giving person to be hurt so many times. Well, I'm pleased to say that I don't know that that's going to happen many more times in their life. It's sort of like they've gone through the karmic lessons, I think is the best way I can describe this, of what had to happen in their lives. And now we're at the end of that, and it's like now we can go into the wishing well and we can have only good things come towards M. And that's really lovely to see. So has M looking for another job too? Because I'm seeing sort of more money and more opportunity and just sort of everything in M's life is opening up this year.
He's talking about it a lot. He's evaluating and saying, how can I, and he just had this conversation with me. He said, how can I get more money? What am I doing? But the problem is, it's his schedule. That's what he loves because it allows him to be so free with his time. And that's what he doesn't want to have change. But he's also
I can
single,
understand that.
so
but maybe the schedule doesn't necessarily have to be rigid or change. Maybe he will be willing to look at things in a slightly different way. You know what I mean? It's sort of like when you get a job that you really, really love, it doesn't become a chore. It's something you want to do. And that's what I'm seeing for M. You know, like there's more money coming in, there's more responsibility, there's more everything, but it's like he's excited to get out of bed and go to the job. You know, like it's sort of, it fits in with that being free and easy sort of thing. You know, maybe, you know, the reasons why he's hung on so much to wanting to be free and easy and to be able to do as he pleased, because so many other areas of his life, everybody else controlled him, and this was the one area he could control, if that makes sense. So now as life is evolving and changing and he meets the love of his life, things are going to change. His goals are going to change. Things that were important to him are going to change over the next few minutes too, you know, the next few months as well. So I hope that's helped M. Carolyn. That's where we've got to leave it. I've got to move on now to the next caller, which is Amanda in Bathurst in New Brunswick in Canada. Are you there, Amanda?
Yes, hi.
Hi, Happy New Year, sweetie. How can I help you today? Do you have a question?
I was hoping to connect with someone who's passed. I'm not sure if you do that.
Connect with?
Someone who's passed?
No guarantees. If you fire a question at me, if they want to chime in, they will. Because we have such limited time on the show, there's not, you know.
Sure.
They're just not on automatic speed dial, sweetie, unfortunately. So what's your question?
Oh, that's totally fine. Actually, what I was curious about is if my ex-boyfriend's brother will reach out to me.
Will accept you?
Reach out to me.
Oh, to reach out to you. Okay. So, right. The first initial symbolism that they're showing me from the other side is no, but I'm going to say that was very sort of vague and very wishy-washy, as if that was this precise second. I don't know that that's necessarily going to be the way it's going to be in time to come. I'm picking up about 3 or 4 months' time from now. I do actually feel she will make an attempt to reach out to you. It's really interesting because she's sitting on the fence about whether or not she should reach out to you or not, whether or not she's going to get the right sort of reaction. She's a very strong woman, isn't she? Very has a lot to say when she, you know.
His mother?
Pardon?
Do you mean his mother?
Well, I feel so because you said your ex's mother was the one that you were wondering whether or not she was going to reach out to you. Is that correct?
Oh, I had actually said brother, but no,
Oh,
that's all right.
brother. Okay. Well, I got a female, so I got his mother. She was
Wow,
the one
that's
that was going to
interesting.
reach out. She was the one that was
Okay,
going to reach out to you. She feels she's got something to say.
it's bad.
Yeah, so that's interesting that she pushed in. I truly thought you said mother, and she came through with this message. So the brother, okay, let me tune into the brother. Look, I don't know that he wants to get involved in anything. He sort of, he wants to flip flop around and sort of, yeah, he likes you, and yeah, he's sort of sorry that things didn't work out, but he really doesn't want to get involved in anything. So I don't know that by choice that he would necessarily reach out. It's interesting because you've got a lot of spirit activity going on around you at the moment. It's like they're almost fighting to sort of get messages through to you. And it's not necessarily
Yeah.
they're going to give them to me here on the show. But I think over the next couple of days, you need to be aware of, you might get some very, very strong dreams, some dreams that mightn't make a lot of sense. Just know that that is directly coming from spirit, from people that have passed over, that have got something that they want to share with you or show you. And my suggestion would be, as much as you can, write it down to the best of your memory of what's happened during the dream state of the next night, over the night, for the next couple of weeks, because there will be some hidden nuggets in there of some directions for the future and helping you sort of guide your way through. So the person that you were hoping to connect with, was that a male?
Yeah.
They haven't given me any details other than they've given me a bunch of pink roses to give you. And I don't know what that means. Normally, roses is just a token of their love. But to me, this was sort of like, here, these are for her. These are for Amanda. Give them to Amanda. So that's the message I'm passing on. So I hope that means something to you. You don't need to
You
say,
said what? Sorry,
elaborate on the show. What, sweetie?
Sorry, I didn't quite make out what you said. Say what to Amanda?
Well, they gave me, the male person gave me a bunch of pink roses and said, give these to Amanda. That was the message.
Give these to Amanda?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, so as I said, I'm not sure how to interpret that. Normally when they show me roses, it's just sort of like their loving gestures, sort of to say, to let you know that they're loving and they're around. But this to me was very definite. Here's the bunch of roses, give them to Amanda. So that was the message. I didn't get anything else. So that's unfortunately all I can share with you, Amanda. That was the message from the other side, from the male person that was of interest. So unfortunately, sweetie, that's where we're going to have to leave it. We've come to the end of the show. But I know if you put your thinking cap on, that will have a very decisive message for you, that it's in some way a symbolism or some sort of hidden message that that particular person wants to share with you. So it's been a very interesting week around the world. We've had a lot of people talking about the different wars and the different war zones, and I don't want to go into that. Wars make me very upset. But we've also had, a lot of tragedy, a lot of loss, a lot of weather events. But one of the most important things that jumped out to me in the last 7 days was that the music industry lost one of its greatest performers, in my opinion. Most people don't know that this person was actually a great singer. Here in Australia, I don't think he ever had really a top number one hit here, but I can remember in a record store in the late 70s, flicking through the record selections, and I came across this particular album and I recognised the face and I thought, oh, that's so-and-so from a particular TV show. And I thought, look, I'll buy it anyway. Might be. Well, it turned out to be one of my favourite albums. For many, many people in the last week, we lost one of the greatest actors of all time, David Soul from Starsky and Hutch. And many of you will remember in the little red car with the white stripe down the side and the two people driving around like lunatics, keeping the world safe. But David Soul was a beautiful singer and a consummate performer. I never got to see him live, unfortunately, which would have been lovely to do. But he has a beautiful voice, and to me, he was a beautiful soul, and he brought so much love and kindness. Yes, and in the US, he had a big hit called "Don't Give Up on Us." And he also had Silver Lady. But my ultimate favourite was Going In With My Eyes Open. And I still have that original LP in my collection, and I quite often get it out and put it on the turntable. And I was really saddened to hear that David Soul had lost his battle with cancer. I know he was of an age where, you know, we can expect a few complications in our lives and maybe, you know, the end of our lives. But I think the world has lost a beautiful soul. So I'm going to leave you with Going In With My Eyes Open with David Soul. Until next week, bye for now.